Hello YouTube, I'm Galadite74, bringing you guys a tier list today. Yes, we decided to farm views today by making a tier list. Just kidding, sort of. I planned on doing these Pokemon Unite tier lists once a season, so this is going to be our fall version of it. Our last version was during the late spring time. I did skip summer, frankly, not sure why, but anyway, we are here today for this tier list. Usually I do upload a Unite video shortly after these. As of right now, I don't have anything planned, but I will try and get something together for you guys. But hopefully this video isn't too long. It is going to be quite a bit, so, you know, get relaxed, get comfortable, get a drink or whatever. Just get relaxed, yeah. You see the tier list in our tiers today. I do want to note a few things before we start. I did initially record this once already, and it was like 45 minutes long, so I'm trying to edit this, make a different version that's a little bit shorter. So I am going to be flying through the Mons. Last time we did a tier list, it was during when Delphox release. This time is during Clefable release. This video should be going up around 10 PM EST, maybe a little bit later, right before Zoroark releases. So just to let you know, reference to, you know, the timeline here. Hopefully you guys enjoy. Finally, our last tier list was based off of a 5-stack setting and a competitive environment. This one is going to be geared more towards solo queue with maybe some 5-stack assets involved in there, but mostly solo queue, solely because I was on a team last time I made a tier list, and right now I'm currently looking for a team. If you guys want to, you know, go on my Twitter and retweet my tweet about it, that'd be pretty cool. But we're going to be breaking this down via categories, so I'm going to start with the support mons, and we're going to quickly go through them. As you know, it's the category I'm most comfortable with because I'm a support main, and so we'll talk about them first. Alright, so we have our support cast here, and what I'm going to do instead of just going one by one, because I feel like it's going to take too long, I did sort of pre-plan this out a bit, so I am going to just quickly throw the mons into the tiers that I think they deserve to be in, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. So first, let's just get that out of the way. That's the big elephant in the room there. And so that's what we have here. I think Fable and Blissey go here, and I put Wigglytuff in the existing tier. So we're going to talk about these supports for a little bit here and just have a small discussion about them, and then we'll move on to defenders. So that's how I decided I'm going to break this down. These are the supporters in the game, and this is how I would rank them. Let's start off with Mr. Mime here. Mr. Mime's at the very top. Mr. Mime, personally, I believe, is a top 3 mon in the video game right now. The thing I've noticed about Unite is that throughout its entire history, there is always a dominant support, you know, Pokemon. At the very beginning, Eldegoss was almost mandatory on every single, you know, competitive team. And if that was a support, if you're going to play support in your games, you would play Eldegoss. Then for a little bit, we had Wiggly was pretty strong at that time too, not as strong I don't think. And then Hoopa was released. Hoopa dominated the meta for almost half a year, or whatever how long it was. Felt like forever. Near the end of Hoopa's run, Blissey was also insanely strong at some points in time just because of the rework it got, and that was a dominant mon. Now with the new map, which by the way I didn't even mention, my last tier list was based off the old map. This one's based on the new one. Mr. Mime got a huge rework as well, also making that insanely strong. The first 2 days of the map, Mr. Mime was the most broken character in the game by a mile, and it is still strong to this day, a season and a half later. Mime's kit is just, he's like a tank. He's more like an all-rounder, but he can, you know, heal. He can, you know, boost your Pokemon with Power Swap, because I think Power Swap is arguably the most broken move in the entire game. The way, you know, you get level 6, you just attach it to an enemy, you can attach it to your teammate, and it always gets you value. It's a no drawback, you know, move. Mr. Mime's Showtime is just insanely strong. It's a Unite move, you get it quite a bit. CC Central. This mon can really do anything. I do want to talk about Clefable and Blissey real quick because I think they are very similar in Pokemon. Clefable is more of a widespread healer with Moonlight, and Blissey is more of a singular target healer. So I think they have their own respective roles there, but they do have a very similar playstyle. I do think in a 5-stack setting that these mons I think are really, really strong, but because it's a solo queue, Clefable and Blissey do have to rely on their teammates a little bit to get their full value. Hence why they're still decent picks, but they're not as strong as something like Mime, who can just carry a game on its own. Wigglytuff is kind of just existing. This tier is meant just because I don't have too much else to say about it. about the mons in the existing tier. They're not the greatest, but they're not terrible. You can play them and get insane value out of them, but you know, they're not consistently the carry of each game. Wigglytuff, it's just there. I think the mon itself is kind of whatever, but the thing I like about Wiggly a lot is its Unite move. I think its Unite move, especially against Mime, is insanely good. Very underutilized, and I think it could be really strong in just a 5-sec setting as well. Sing and Rollout, again, aren't bad, especially on the new map. A lot of nooks and crannies that Wiggly can roll out into. I think that's a really big benefit of Wigglytuff. However, it is kind of tough when competing with the other 3 up above it. Finally, we have Hoopa and Eldegoss. I'm an Eldegoss and Hoopa main. We're down really bad. Hoopa, without a doubt, got easily shafted the most with the new nerf to the healing inside the base. The Hyperspace Hole and Phantom Force combo just is not that good anymore. Its Unite is still decent, but it's not as mandatory as it felt like during the old map, since teams are somewhat more split up. It's kind of hard to explain. Movement around the map isn't as important. It's still important, but not, you know, a crucial factor. And then Eldegoss is just outclassed by everything, really. Its Unite move's okay. I think its Unite move's pretty good, actually, but that alone is not going to carry it any further than down at the bottom right here. Eldegoss has been needing a buff for months now, and I really hope they show Eldegoss love sometime soon. These are where I would put the supports personally, and now we're going to move on to defenders. Alright, so we got our defenders here. I'm just noticing you guys on screen are sort of getting the bottom of this cut off, so I do apologize for that. But anyway, these are where I have the defenders. We have 7 of them here, and this whole category of defenders is sort of in an awkward spot right now. Defenders as a category aren't really like broken or even the strongest, but they're definitely not weak either. I would say they are pretty balanced personally, especially in a solo, duo, trio queue environment. I think defenders are almost in a perfect spot right now. In 5-secs, I think they're a little bit more underwhelming, but it really just depends on what comp you're trying to run right now. So quickly, I can put these, because a lot of these guys are just going to the existing tier here, so I'm going to put Snorlax there. I have Tree and Blastoise also go into this tier as well as Slowbro. And you know, for these 3, I'm going to put Crustle down a little bit lower, and then these last 2 up above a bit. And I'll explain my thought process in a moment here. I do put the 4 defenders in existing just because they are straight up existing. I don't have too much else to say about them. They're not the greatest, they're not the worst, they can provide a bit of value. I will say, however, I do think in a 5-stack scenario, again, I think Snorlax and Slowbro have a bit more value, just because Heavy Slam block is insane when you have teammates pairing with it and with your combos and your setups. It's very similar to Fable and Blissey in that sense, where if you have a good organized structure, Lax can get you so far. And same with Slowbro, except I think Slowbro, as long as its Unite functions the way it does, in a really competitive setting, I think Slowbro's Unite is like a top 3 Unite move in that sense. It is so strong, it can just completely eliminate a Pokemon in a snap of a finger if you coordinate it correctly. And I always think, as long as that's around, Slowbro can never be bad. However, going back to the more, you know, ranked solo trio queue thing, you can't rely on your teammates nearly as much, so it does drop off in value quite a bit. That applies to Lax and the rest of these guys as well. Crustle's weird. I've been playing a lot of Crustle in solo queue. I enjoy this mon a lot. I have a lot of fun with it. It's one of my favorite mons to play, personally. I like to play it as a traditional defender that does damage. However, it's in a rough spot just because it's unique in the fact that it can do every single thing that these defenders can do, but it's not really good at any of those. Like, for example, Mamoswine I think is a better damage dealer defender than Crustle is. Greedent has better movement than Crustle, I would say, personally. Crustle doesn't have as good sustain as Slowbro. You see what I mean? It can kind of do all these things, but not as well as the mon you would pick it for. So that's why I think Crustle is personally a little bit outclassed right now. I think with a little bit of a buff, though, Crustle can be put in a really good spot. And quickly, Mamoswine and Greedent. I think Mamoswine is just really strong right now. The CC it provides alongside Mime makes it a really nasty combination to go up against, defender and support-wise. You're going to get a lot more damage output and a lot of CC from these guys, which I think is a really good addition to, you know, supporting a team. Mamoswine's pretty tanky, it's a good early game, and it's good mid, like, it's just good throughout the entire game. Its Unite gives it good survivability, even though the Unite itself's not great. Icicle Crash is just really strong, and the movement with high horsepower. Everything about Mamoswine right now is just pretty strong. Greedent, I'm not a fan of using Greedent, however, with the new map, Jungle Invading is pretty strong. However, it's not as strong as people were making it out to be when the new map first dropped and the experience was as high as it was. It did get nerfed, and Jungle Invading was just insane at that point, at least, but Greedent, still really good at that. However, I do think you need to just do that on Greedent, because if you're not doing that, then why pick Greedent? You probably want to pick one of the other defenders. But that's where I would put the defenders right now, personally. And now, next, I'm going to talk about Speedsters. So, this is weird, because back, right before the new map dropped, and, when last tier list existed, Speedsters were in a pretty awkward spot where all-arounders sort of just did their job, but better, and they didn't have, the strongest spot in the meta. However, with the new map, and with how some of these Speedsters interact with the meta, they are very strong now, as we're going to get into real quick. So I'm going to just quickly, again, rank them, and then, start talking about them. So I think Gengar's up here, Absol I would put here, and then Talonflame, Zera I would put here, and the new edition Mom, like Clefable and Dodrio. Dodrio also goes up here. So we'll talk about this real quick. Let's start from the bottom this time, Talonflame and Zera. Talonflame is another Mon that in solo queue is incredibly frustrating to go up against. Kind of like Crustle, where oftentimes Crustle mains will ignore team fights and just go back cap and usually cost your team a game. Talonflame players are very similar in that sense. They're not really that good. However, the character itself still isn't terrible. It's just the issue is that the other three Speedsters and the similar issue with Zera are just better in every way. So it's kind of in a rough spot in that sense. I think Fly is still really good secure, and again, Talonflame does have good burst damage, so it's not bad. It's just not as good as the other three. Zera, I think, is slightly worse, just because I think Zera's early game is still not that impressive. The buff it got to its, its moves was nice in terms of, moving the levels around, getting its Unite move at level 9 as it should, but I just don't think it's as strong. So that's why I have there as well. Oh, my bad. Let's talk about the other guys now. Absol. Absol, before Clefable released, I probably would have put Absol up here as well. But because Clefable exists, and I think Clefable is going to be pretty solid, and Mimes exists as well, I think getting value out of Absol is going to be a little bit harder, just because the main issue with Absol is that if you get CC'd, or maybe you miss a move, it's basically rendered useless. It's very frail, and it doesn't really have a get out of jail card, kind of like Gengar does. So I'll explain that when I get to Gengar, but this mod still hits incredibly strong. It's a decent laner, and it's really strong early game, and it used to fall off late game. I don't think it falls off as much as it used to late game. It still can hold on to its own, and you can definitely hard carry games with Absol if you are very good on the character. Really, a lot better burst damage than Town and Zera personally, and it's just a strong Mon. Gengar and Dodrio, I have them up in the very strong for two different reasons. Gengar is easily the best, in terms of damage dealers and team fighting right now. In terms of Speedsters, the burst damage is absolutely insane. The combos you have are strong, both of them. It's get out of jail free card is the Unite card, the Unite move I was talking about. You can go in and go through your combos, and if you either miss or you don't end up killing all the targets you want to, you can use your Unite to either further boost your damage or just get out if you need to, whatever the context of the situation is. The big thing with Gengar compared to some of the all-rounders and some of the attackers right now, and even the Speedsters to an extent, is that its early game, Ghastly sucks. I think Ghastly's bad, but Haunter is really strong, I think. So when you put Gengar in the jungle, and you get Haunter before first Jank, what? You are very strong, is what I'm trying to say. The Dodrio, I think, is strong for a slightly different reason. It's an okay team fighter. I think Gengar is personally a lot better at that. But the thing with Dodrio is the movement around the map. Greedent is known for its jungle invading shenanigans, same with Talonflame to an extent. I think one Mon that might arguably even be better at that is Doduo. The movement this guy has around the map is crazy. It has decent secure, a good moveset with the tri-attack agility I think is pretty strong. And the one thing I like about this Mon a lot is the fact that the way it scores can help you get little dunks in at the end of the game. So I'll give you guys an example. Let's say you're in a 5v5, you guys want to push, and your team's only down by like 20 or something, but everyone on your team has 50 points. So you need to you need to win a whole team fight in order to score 50, because they're not going to let you do that. What Dodrio lets you do is you can have 50, but because he does little dunks of 3, you'll get the 20. What's the math behind this? It's like 18 or something. You do like 18, 18, 18 or whatever the math is, and those little bit of points can win you the game pretty easily. The way it scores can help you in that sense. It also kind of hurts when you're trying to overdunk a point. Dodrio can't be doing that, but there's more benefits to that than not. And I think that personally is really strong. But those are the Speedsters. We have 2 categories left, and this is going a lot faster, so I'm glad I did it this way. We're going to look at all-rounders next. So there's quite a number of these guys, and there's even more attackers. So I'm going to try and speed through this quite a little bit, but I think obviously these are really worth talking about here. I started with the Garchomp. Garchomp, unfortunately, is just not doing hot. In fact, I'm going to just put them all where I think they should be. Actually, I'll do these one by one real quick. Garchomp, not really good right now. It's just outclassed by every all-rounder, and then it's even worse in that case because Gible and Gabite are kind of whatever. This mon needs a rework of some sort, whether it be bulkier and more movement speed, more. I think its attack is honestly fine, to be honest. I think it's just one of those 2 things they need to tweak with it. Maybe it's Unite move. I don't know. I frankly don't know the answer. Maybe it's level up. Something needs to change with this mon. Lucario. Lucario is actually not that bad right now. It's not as broken as it used to be back in its old glory days, but it is still a pretty strong mon, and it's just a very consistent mon. There's a very high skill ceiling to this mon still with E-Speed at least. Pup is guaranteed value, and it's I think a really strong move still. It doesn't have quite the sustain as some of these mons, and it doesn't have quite the burst or just hard like 1v5 potential if you're not cracked on E-Speed. So that's why it's just down here, not where it used to be, but it is still a very solid mon. Charizard. Now, this is weird because before like 2 patches ago, I thought Charizard was like right here. But because of the nerf to its Unite move and slight nerf to it in general, I am going to put it all the way down here. I still think it is very strong, but I don't think it's a mon that you can potentially just build a whole team around anymore. I mean, you still can, but you need more assets to the team than just Charizard, ult, and go Burr. You know what I mean? You need a little bit more than that now, I think. Especially with how some of these team fights play out sometimes. Charmeleon is okay. Like, it's not the worst middle evolution in the world, but you do, I think, need jungle. Lane Charizard isn't really bad, but it does kind of suffer in terms of needing a lot of experience. There is another all-rounder, and I'll just talk about it real quick, that T-Tar, that suffers a similar fate. And this is your in the middle of the video reminder that this is more geared towards solo trio queue. Because I think T-Tar would be a little bit lower in a 5-stack setting. However, in solo trio queue, T-Tar is pretty strong. It does suffer the same fate as Charizard, as it is very experience hungry, and Pupitar I think is quite ass. However, late game T-Tar is one of the better all-arounders. Has a really strong late game. It's really tanky. It has true damage, which both of these guys have, which I think is pretty underrated. Especially because a lot of these Ray fights and a lot of these Unite games now with this new map are a lot closer than some of the old games used to be. So, stopping a 100 score or a 200 score can really make a big difference. And being able to counter push and ignore the shields that they get from their zone, T-Tar is just insane late game. So that's why I have it slightly above Charizard. I think it's a bit more consistent, and it's a little bit stronger late game. Well, it's a lot stronger late game. But, it's got its flaws, but it's pretty good. Machamp, it is also down here. It's not bad. It's almost like here, but I think it's a little bit better just because, Machamp's strong as an early game. Machoke's not half bad. And Machamp's ult is just still really, really crazy late game. So, it's not bad. I don't have too much else to say about this one. Dragonite, not really. It has seen some better days, frankly. Securing is still important, but there are a lot of different ways to secure. And Dragonite's teamfight isn't bad, but some of the all-rounders, again, just have a really strong teamfight, and I think that Dragonite, it's really bad. It does need to be in jungle, because only in Dratini and Dragonair are kind of whatever. And it's just there. I just think the other ones, all-rounders, are a little bit better. I'm trying to speed this up quite a little bit. Let's talk about Serena next. Serena, I'm going to put an A. It's pretty good. Near the end of the Zapdos meta, as I'll just call it, the triple all-rounder, Serena was insane. It was so strong. They did nerf it a bit, but I do still think Serena is a very viable option, and it is very strong. I think getting Serena at level 6 and Stomp at level 5 is still very good. The weakest part about Serena is Bounce Sweets, kind of whatever, but again, if you don't die within the first 30 seconds of the game, you get up to Steenie, and that's like pretty decent right there. So Serena's really strong right now, and I have it up there. Aegislash also pretty strong. I think this Mon's like skill ceiling is absolutely insane, and just the option to switch between defense and offense is nice. Its Unite move is, I get a little bit, I have a love-hate relationship with it. I think it's very good in some aspects and very bad in others. But you know, this Mon's damage is pretty good. It has really good self-sustain, and I think it's just pretty strong all around. Honedge did get nerfed a little bit, and I believe Clefable does stop one of Aegislash's moves, if I'm not correct, but still strong. Azumarill got buffed recently, and it is very strong in solo queue right now. Azumarill is like the 1v1 king. Like, you take a 1v1 versus Azumarill, you will probably lose. And the fact that you get Azumarill 1 level sooner is really strong. Its Unite move is sort of whatever, but the fact that you can spam it and it, you know, it boosts your attack a little bit to help you win those fights even harder. Really, really nice, and I think it's just a really good pick. Buzzwole, this one's like, I know me and my good pal JB disagree with this one quite a bit, because I think Buzzwole is pretty strong. Leech Life and Superpower are both very good moves for different reasons. Superpower is just insane damage if you combo it well. Leech Life, its damage is also pretty good, but it's more so for the sustain that Buzzwole sort of lacks otherwise. Early game, it's pretty strong. Late game, it's a little bit not as strong. It's still strong, but I think the thing with Buzzwole is that you really need to connect your moves. If you do with your cooldowns, then Buzzwole's kind of worthless. Which, it does apply to some of these mons, like some of the all-arounders, but Buzzwole really suffers from that. Otherwise, if you can connect your moves, Buzzwole's pretty strong. Finally, Scyther, Scizor. I've been talking about these all-rounders for quite a bit. Scizor got buffed again. Scyther, I think, got buffed as well. These are pretty strong. Am I going to move Scyther? I'm going to move it, like, right here. Scizor is very strong just because its sustain is just crazy. I don't know why. The Bullet Punch healing is just very noticeable. Its movement's pretty good. Its Unite, I don't know. I thought its Unite was really bad, but the burst damage it provides is actually really annoying a lot of times. And you do get Scizor at level 5, so that is pretty early that you get it. Scyther, it's more frail, but it does more burst damage. It kind of acts like a Speedster. The reason I put it lower is because it acts like a Speedster. I don't think it's better than like Gengar or Absol in that sense. But that's why I have it there. Before the patch, like before the buffs, Scizor would have been like down here. Scizor was down pretty bad, but the buffs really helped it quite a bit. And finally, we have the attacker category. Alright, we are nearing the end of this, and I'm going to try and fly through this even faster than I initially did the all-rounders, because I took a little bit on them. Venusaur. Venusaur is down here. Venusaur used to be really good. There was like this Venu versus Pika versus Ninetales, and who you would choose as your lane attacker, and I always preferred Venu. Venu not doing as hot now just because there's another mon that just straight up outclasses it, hence the outclass tier, as we'll get to in a little bit. And Petal Dance isn't as strong as it used to be, just because I think Venusaur is just a tad too squishy to consistently brawl with all of the really good brawly characters right now. So I think in that sense it does fall off quite a bit. However, I do think this mon is still a viable option in some sense, and you can carry games with it. Gardevoir, down pretty bad right now. Ralts is complete garbage. Kirlia, unless you are in the jungle and get ahead, also pretty bad. And then Gardevoir itself is like not that bad. Gardevoir's damage is really good. However, it doesn't have the movement that a lot of other attackers or even all-rounders have to get it out of situations that it does not like. So getting jumped is very common on Gardevoir, and it doesn't have the mobility to get out half the time. Its Unite move, I still feel like there's too much unstoppable in the game to, you know, really get good value out of Guard's ult. So I really feel like you really need to get ahead to get any value out of this mon. Gren and Cinderace I'll do together. They're solid still. Some people think Cinderace is like really bad right now. I don't think Cinderace is like at the top of the meta anymore like it used to, but it's still a very annoying mon in solo trio queue to go up against. and I still think it can be a viable option in 5 stacks as well. Its autos are there's just so much damage, and it's got good movement, so it's really hard to just kind of burst down. It's like guard, but better in the sense that, you know, it can move around and dodge the things that would kill it. I think Gren is slightly better in the sense that it's more of a better team fighter, and with more coordination, I think Gren can get a lot more value out of Cinder, just because of how its combos work. I think Surf is really strong. Gren's Unite move is a really good engagement or a really good cleaner, depending on how you use it. That being said, these both suffer from being really bad laners, and falling behind makes you kind of worthless. Cram, I don't have much to say about this. It's just kind of existing. I don't know too much about it. I know the cooldown reduction emblems got nerfed a bit, which hit Cram quite a bit. Yeah, I'll just put it there. And the same is going to apply to Pikachu here. I'm a little bit mixed on Pikachu because I think there is some potential, but it is, again, outclassed by another attacker that I think we all know who we're talking about. Ninetales is in a slightly worse spot, but I think with like one small buff, Ninetales could go back up to being really good, just because I think CC is really strong right now. However, some of the other CC options like Mime, Mamo for example, are just better than Ninetales, and Ninetales late game falls off really hard. Sylveon, same kind of issue. I think it falls off really hard late game. Early game it's pretty strong. Secure, again, is decent in this meta, but it's not as important, so I think Sylveon has seen better days. Decidueye, this one's a tough one. I'm going to put it here, and it's kind of like hypocritical because I was just saying how Guard lacks movement. Well, Decidueye also does. I think the Decidueye having the best range in the entire game gives it the slight edge over Gardevoir. Its Unite move is pretty decent as long as you're not getting ganked as soon as you click the button. Spirit Shackle will always be a really strong move, and you have to fully build a comp around this mon. So in solo, like Trio Q, honestly I could put it down here, but in like a 5-stack setting, if the opposing team's not playing a Speedster of some sort, I could see Decidueye getting some more value. So I'll put it there for now. Duraludon, this was a mon like a week ago that everyone kind of wrote off, but recently has rose up Insurgents. I'm going to put it in existing. I don't think there's anything really too unique about Duraludon personally, so it's just kind of there. So I'll just keep it there for now. Espeon, I think is still pretty bad. I've been on the Espeon hate train for quite a bit, and I still think it's not that great. Its early game is okay, but you could just kind of pick other attackers who have good early games, and its late game is still really bad. Its Unite move's ass. It's just not that great. Delphox is really strong. Its Unite move, I think, is the best in the entire game. The movement this guy has is crazy. The consistent damage it can put out because of the Flame Charge Mystical Fire combo is crap. Have you seen Skull's clips on Twitter? Come on. Like, I don't need to really go any further than that. This one only suffers with Fennekin and Braixen being complete garbage. But, again, level 6 evolution, if you put it in the jungle, it's not really a big deal. So, you know, once you get those moves, Delphox is just really strong. And its Unite move opens up so many potential, you know, win cons. Glaceon initially was up here during the first season of the new map, but now with the slight nerf to its like cooldown on Icy Wind, I'm gonna put it up here. It is still a very strong mon that we haven't really seen much in this season, but I do think it is still pretty good. People kind of wrote it off. Icicle Spear is pretty solid and very annoying to go up against. Icy Wind still does really good damage. It's just hard to keep those stacks up, and its Unite move is still kind of whatever, but you get it quite a bit, so you know, there's that. Finally, we have the big, humongous elephant in the room. We got Mew. Yeah. In solo queue, I think these two kind of compete to be who's number one, but I think in a 5-stack setting, it's not even a question. Mew is just simply the best mon in the game. Mew needs a nerf really bad. This mon, it does everything. Level 1 Solar Beam or Surf, I think Solar Beam is a little bit better level 1. It's just way too strong secure early on and just so much damage. This mon damage is consistent throughout the entirety of the match. You can switch moves as you please, and you also get a cooldown reduction. You get no cooldown, so like you could use Light Screen, Solar Beam, and then switch to Surf Agility and like have those up instantly. Your boosted auto is absolutely cracked. Your Unite move is a big get out of jail card, and it is a really good team fight Unite move. So if you want to play back, you can play Solar Beam. and then you can go in and play Surf, and then use your Unite move if you get caught in a pickle. The combo damage between the Unite move and using some of that is also crazy. Electro Ball is kind of whatever, but Agility, its movement is crazy. If you use Surf and Agility away, you go like flying across the map. You will never get caught by an enemy if you are really good at this character. The damage is just too strong right now. Everything's just kind of too strong about me right now. Please nerf it. I'm begging. I'm sick and tired of seeing this spawn in my games. And yeah, that is the tier list. We have spent about a half hour on this. So, you know, I got it down a decent 15 minutes, 10 to 15, so I'll take that. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I will be happy to elaborate on more mods if you guys want to discuss where, you know, if something's too low, something's too high. Again, this is more focused on solo trio queue, but this does have some influence with 5 stacks and more competitive environment. So, you know, let me know what you guys think. Zoroark releases tonight, so, you know, very exciting stuff. And, yeah, I mean, they're not really ordered within the tier too much. They are a little bit, but not, you know, too much. Well, that's all I really got to say. Thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully you guys liked. Leave a like, and I'll be seeing you guys soon. See ya.